Hey y'all, it's Steffi and welcome back to my channel. Continue on with the series about healing with me. So episode 1, if you didn't see it, I'll link it here in the cards for you guys. My prior marriage that ended in divorce and kind of the things that contributed to it. I wanted to provide that background to give you better context of what I had gone through. I also want to just say thank you guys so very much for being so supportive and encouraging on that video. Moving on to episode 2. Today I'm going to talk about how my healing journey went, what I did during that period that I kind of call my healing era, thoughts that I had, some whatever epiphanies. Again, hoping that it helps someone out there who maybe is going through that as well. So let's jump into it. I do believe that healing is not a destination. It's not like one day you're just going to be this fully healed, complete, wonderful, perfect version of yourself. I think that healing is a lifelong journey. Chapters, you're going to feel pretty good and settled and happy and content with your life. And there's others that are going to be super high peaks. And then others that are going to be kind of lower valleys that you kind of have to rise through. So just know that healing is not a destination. It's your everyday work. It's maybe once you get past like the initial stages of it, it's still consistent work to kind of evolve from the version of you from before, which served a purpose. And I think we need to acknowledge and be grateful for each version of ourselves, but we can always continue to evolve. You may come to a point where you feel great about where you are in life and you're super happy, and then maybe a little bit down the road, you're going to feel similar emotions again, or you're going to get triggered by a situation that you're like, hey, I thought I was, healed. And that's okay. You learn coping mechanisms, you learn how to reframe thoughts, you learn other tools to help you manage, the emotions and the feelings that are coming up, setting intentions. So coming out of when I separated from the previous marriage, and then during the divorce procedures, that's probably one of the most broken I have been, was going through that divorce. I was in such a state of not trusting myself, thinking that I was the cause of all the shit that went on in the relationship, that I somehow deserved the stuff that had happened to me. I did not have a very good opinion of myself. There was a lot of negative self-talk. And I wanted to heal, first of all, for myself. I wanted to gain my confidence back in myself, trust myself again. And then secondly, I wanted to heal so I would avoid the same kind of person, just in a different face. Like once you're predisposed to a certain version of love, whether that started from childhood or whatever the case may be, you may feel like certain circumstances mean it's love when it's not. I was so afraid that I would meet the exact same kind of person, just in a different physical form. I'm encouraging you guys to really go through this healing phase. Whatever timeline that looks like for you personally, everyone's going to be different. But to do that so that, the decisions that you make in the next chapter of your life will lead you to a better result, a different result than, what you're coming out of. Because ultimately all we can control is ourselves, what we do in a relationship, how we contribute to a relationship, how we show up just in general in our life. That is all you can control, is yourself, your actions, your thoughts, how you react to certain feelings that come up. Heal, honey, otherwise you're gonna find him again. And then lastly, I also wanted to heal because I personally have a desire to have a family, ideally with someone to be my partner in raising that family. I also had the idea of adopting and being on my own if I never came across a man of high quality who I'd want to spend my life with. Be a better version for my future children and for my future partner. I wanted to attract the right kind of partner. And so I feel to attract what you want, you first have to be able to be that person. Another thing I would highly recommend is to not put yourself out on the dating market right off the bat. I know that might be different for different people. If you watched the previous episode, then you understand my story. So I had gone through a very long period of being like intimacy-less. So I had a lot of like embarrassment around that, feeling ashamed, feeling like I wasn't attractive, like there was something wrong with me. So I had a lot of like just self-confidence issues. And I think because of that, because I felt like there must be something wrong with me, it was both ways. I didn't want that. He obviously didn't want it from me, because I think we just both were not attracted to the kind of people that we were. And anyways, I purposely didn't go on the dating market immediately off the bat while the divorce was happening, while you're going through the separation process. Obviously, if the universe intends for you to meet the right kind of person, it's very possible that you don't put yourself out there and you somehow happen to bump into them in your everyday life, and that's beautiful. But I'm saying don't actively put yourself out there, like don't go on dating apps and stuff like that, because like I said, you want to take the time to heal. And that means to learn about yourself, about what your needs and your wants are. So you want to do that and have a really solid base before you start the dating process. As far as how long, personally, again, this is from my point of view, from my set of values. Take it with a grain of salt. Everyone's different, but this is just my personal view until you're legally divorced. But, honeys, y'all do you. But secondly, I think that you'll know when you're ready to start dating when you're coming at it from a place of like curiosity, not from a place of lacking, not because you're like, I'm lonely, so I want someone to spend time with. I, miss having someone with me, or I miss texting someone, or, you want to be in a place where your cup is filled. You feel fulfilled in your life, and so that you're so happy in what you have going on that anyone coming into your life has to add to that, not take away. And not just because you're lonely. In the next episode, we'll talk more about like once you actually start getting into the dating scene and just my thoughts and philosophy on that, but that's for the next episode. All we can control is ourselves. So one thing that was important for me to acknowledge and really view head on was, what did I contribute, good and bad, to the relationship? What things, were helpful to it, what stuff wasn't helpful, and really taking ownership of that. Because again, you don't want to repeat the same kind of bad habits from that relationship. But the one good thing is that you're starting now from experience. It's like you're not starting over from zero. You have experience now. You know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what makes you feel happy and what doesn't. While I was reflecting and kind of going through, the emotions, sometimes I would get so wrapped up in my head. So I definitely suggest journaling. I know it sounds very, boilerplate, but letting your thoughts out, whether that's journaling it on paper, whether you want to record it on a video just for yourself, just kind of talking it out loud, voice note, whatever the case may be, like getting the thoughts that are in your head out of you. I personally like writing just because then you can kind of reflect on it later on. Obviously, if you do it in a video format, you can do the same thing and reflect on it. But I think that's important, is to not leave everything up here. That's what you could do like on your own. And maybe I'll read some excerpts here in a little bit to share with you guys. It's funny, when I read stuff from when stuff was happening, I wish I could like give her a big, big hug. Writing is so cathartic. Getting those emotions out so that you feel relief is so important. There are moments where you're feeling really, really, really alone, and let's say you don't have people in your immediate vicinity who you can lean on, like a really good support system, then there are other options. There are forums out there, there's Reddit groups about people who are going through separation, divorce, whatever, that you could go on. You can come to these videos and kind of share, what's going on in your life. If you do have a support system, having those trusted friends that you go to, which I'll talk about here more in a second. And then also, reaching out to a third party who might be able to help you navigate through this life transition, whether that's something through your religion, through your church, a counselor, life coach, whatever, that's also a really good option. It is a good time to I think, do that. I would really caution you though to just be very aware that you are in a vulnerable state from like an emotional perspective, mental perspective. Finding as healthy of connections to do that with. So like friends, for example, not pouring your heart and everything that's going on to just anyone, like really to your trusted friend or family member, not just any old acquaintance or maybe, your work colleagues or whatever, just because unless you really trust the person, you trust them because you see that they're a person of like high value, they have a moral code that you align with, they have integrity, be a good sounding board for you, be there and make you feel safe just to talk through stuff, and then also not kind of sway you into different routes that maybe don't align with you. But anyways, I would just say be really careful about who you decide to vent to confide in, because not everyone is the right person to go to. I've been in situations where I confided in other people who were also going through hardships in their marriage, which again, that's not a bad thing to have. Sometimes when people are having hardships in their own life, they may not be able to give you advice or support that's as constructive as, as others. If you don't, you have us. You have the Subby fam, so feel free to share what you feel you can share, and I hope we all can support each other down in the comments. I know that people say time heals all. To really heal, I think you have to sit with the feelings in the messiness, in the yuckiness of healing. When I was going through it, I had sadness, guilt, shame, embarrassment, just beating myself up. I could have been so much better, all these things that I like that negative self-talk in your head. And number one, learning to like nip that shit in the bud, not go down that rabbit hole of like, God, I should have known better. I'm such an idiot. I should have, why didn't I do X, Y, or Z thing? Like, it is very easy to go down this downward spiral of just like beating yourself up, not giving yourself grace, pointing out all the shit that you did wrong, which again, like I said, you have to take responsibility for what you contributed and make a firm commitment to yourself, not even to other people, but to yourself, that that's not you. You're not going to do that again, because at the end of the day, you are the only person who has to live with the decisions you make in your life. You're the only person who knows what is right for you and what isn't, not other people. So anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent. Like, going down that spiral is not going to be helpful. Self-reflection, it has to go into like, hey, why am I having this like really negative self-talk? Like, what is this? For me, it was my childhood, the way that my parent talked to me. As a completely other side note, as I kind of dug into like, hey, why was I predisposed to this kind of a relationship? It really stemmed back to what I was exposed to as a child, kind of relationship my mom and my bio dad had together. Later on, it was in order for me to get recognition from my parents, I had to basically do exactly what they wanted, and I had to walk the line, and that's the only way that I would get love and whatever affection. I didn't have like this safe, comforting, nurturing place. When I say comfort or nurturing, what do you think of? I don't think about like a mother's embrace. I don't think about that stuff. It's not there. So when you're having those, kind of more negative moments and negative self-talk, one, stopping it, not going down that endless spiral of just like negativity. Secondly, talking to yourself as if you are someone you love. So talking to yourself in the way that you would talk to a friend. Like if a friend came and told you, I'm such an idiot. I mean, are you the kind of friend who'd be like, yeah, you are? Or like you see your friend in distraught, are you going to be, please don't beat yourself up. Please be kind to yourself. We all make mistakes. That maybe wasn't your best moment, but you live and you learn. You do it differently. It's okay to not be perfect. You aren't a bad person. All the stuff that you would say to someone who you like love, your friend, maybe it's your family, or even the way you would talk to a child. Like, you have to talk to yourself like that. And eventually, as you do that and practice that a bit more, eventually that negative self-talk turns into something different. It turns into something positive. At least it did in my case. Along with that, when you're having those kind of yuckier moments, obviously sometimes the positive self-talk won't be enough. And let's say that you don't have anyone that you can call and confide in, or just, to help kind of get some comfort. Treating yourself, like I had mentioned, like how you would talk to someone you love, kind of how would you help someone that you love feel better? Feelings are not necessarily facts. Feelings, they come up, emotions come up, they maybe indicate something for you to further explore and understand more about. Figuring out some positive coping mechanisms for when you're just really down. Some of mine are obviously going and working out, like getting into a good gym routine was super helpful for me, because as you go to the gym and, not even see progress physically, it's more the mental game. You're learning to either run more, or have more endurance. For me, strength training, giving myself little pep talks and like talking myself up and, telling myself and keep going, or, push, you got this, all that positive self-talk. A lot of that happens in the gym when you're focusing and trying to, increase your weight and stuff like that. Figuring out what those positive coping mechanisms are. Sitting in your feelings and allowing yourself to process is definitely an important thing. I think in your healing journey, you need to be able to do that. And I would do that by kind of allowing myself to sit in that sadness. If I was sad, I let myself cry. Be kind to myself. If I just felt really yucky and sad, I would allow myself to, hey, I'm going to lay on the couch. I'm going to put on my comfort TV shows, The Office, Modern Family, Pride and Prejudice, Safe Haven. Oh my gosh, those are some of my favorite things to watch, movies and TV shows. That just works so comforting for me. The Guernsey literary potato, whatever, that thing on Netflix, Purple Heart, just feel good movies or TV shows that kind of add light to your life. Allowing myself just to be in those feelings and not to feel judgment. Like, that's the thing that was super helpful, was to just not judge myself. Like, if I'm feeling sad, one, obviously I'm not going to go down the spiral of talking too poorly about myself in my head, but if I'm still feeling like yucky, it's okay. Like, knowing that it's going to pass. Everything is temporary. It is going to pass, and there are brighter days ahead. I just constantly told myself that. So I would allow myself to feel that. And I feel like doing that was really helpful in the healing process. Like, when you have like a wound, right? Like an actual physical wound, you have to clean that out. It takes time. It's not just going to heal on its own, or if you just avoid it. I definitely would not recommend avoiding sitting with those feelings. Like, if you are running away from that and needing to go out and, be around people so that you're out of your head constantly, other substances to help get you out of your head, less constructive things to do. Even if that means, hey, I'm going to let myself cry for an hour, and that's it, and then I'm going to try to do something to make myself feel better, like watch some TV shows, go on a walk, go to the gym. There is definitely a balance of going through those emotions and then also finding constructive coping mechanisms. Maybe constructive is journaling, going and working out, ordering in something like your favorite thing to eat, and you're going to have a little movie night in with yourself and watch the stuff that you want to watch. Maybe you get on a FaceTime call with one of your girlfriends and y'all just hang out, or maybe you actually physically hang out with one of your friends. Another thing that was super helpful for me is I started to read certain books. Not necessarily self-help, but it was more like food for thought. This one is All Along You Were Blooming, Thoughts for Boundless Living, a collection of poetry from Morgan Harper Nichols. She is one of my most favorite. This one gives just some kind of encouragement as you're going through some hardship, that you are going through this journey and you're blooming, honey. You don't just become a beautiful flower overnight. You're watering your grass and you are blooming, baby. So anyways, this one is one of my absolute favorites. And if you watch my wedding week vlog, you know that my aisle flowers that I put together were inspired by this, that all along I was blooming. So anyway, that one's a really good one. Writer that's one of my favorites is Ruby Dahl. Her writing, I think she was going through a breakup, divorce, I'm not quite sure, but her writing is as if I'm literally talking to a friend, and the thoughts that are in my brain, I'm seeing them on paper. So this one's really good, especially if you are going through a breakup, I think, because it just kind of gives you, it's called My Hope for Tomorrow. I specifically wanted to read you guys one page just to give you a flavor of it. It said, sometimes things need to end before new beginnings can arise. Sometimes people need to break so they can truly heal. And sometimes love needs to leave before it can return in a different way, in the right way. Anyways, it's just really nice encouragement, so I would highly recommend this one too. And then lastly, I'm not religious. I do have a belief in a higher power, but anyways, that's not what this is about. This particular devotion, which I got at my friend Hong's store, if you're local to the DFW area, she has a storefront called Halcyon House. I'll link it down below. That's where I got this from. But this says, you got this, 90 devotions to equip and empower hardworking women, by Melissa Horvath. If you've been here a while, then you know that from the beginning of my career, I have been a hardworking woman, honey, okay? And my career was like one of the most important things to me. It's still important now, but it's not the most important thing to me. And I poured myself, all of myself, honey, into my career. And so learning and unlearning that my worth was tied to my career, that was a big part of my healing journey, and this was really helpful. So anyways, so those are a few of like the books that I like to read, just kind of like helped me reflect. There's plenty of others, but those are the main ones I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Learning to love being by myself and having my alone time. If you are someone who cannot be alone, or you don't enjoy your own company, there might be more for you to learn about yourself. There's always a balance. There's a balance between being by yourself and then being social, like having quality connections who you can spend some time with, enjoying, having quiet times at your house or just hanging out with yourself, going to restaurants and eating by yourself. During my healing journey is that I would travel on my own, visit places, go sightseeing by myself, eat at restaurants by myself, go to the gym by myself, and then obviously with friends as well, but really learning to I'm really happy by myself, because then once you get to a place of hey, I'm super happy with myself, I love myself, I'm really proud of the person I see in the mirror, and lay my head down and get a good night's sleep because I'm very just content with where I'm at in life, then you'll be able to weed out all the people who don't deserve to be part of this wonderful thing that you've created for yourself. One thing I had to constantly remind myself, I look back at my prior life and I see how much grace I gave. And so learning to give yourself the same things you give to others, the grace that you give to others, the kindness, learning to give that back to yourself. Things I had to work through was becoming confident in myself again. There was a point during that relationship where it was hard for me to look myself in the eye in the mirror, because every time I would look at myself, I would be like, how are you letting yourself go through the stuff that you're going through right now? If this was your daughter, you would tell her to leave. Because I had lost that kind of self-confidence in myself, and that I lost it because I said I had a very firm belief in something, and then I would but I would give grace when those things would be poked at or messed with or overstepped. And you do that enough that you lose confidence in yourself, because you're not keeping the promises to yourself that you had given yourself before. So rebuilding my self-confidence was making promises to myself and keeping them. For example, if I said, you know what, I'm going to do one nice thing for myself today, whatever that is. That could be going and working out. That could be cooking myself a nice meal, taking myself on a walk, whatever that is. If I said that and I didn't do that, and I would do that constantly, that's when I would start to no longer have that self-respect, because I'm not keeping these promises to myself. Rebuilding your self-confidence is going to be keeping promises to yourself. So obviously make promises that you can keep, That's to yourself and to others, like keeping your word with yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are the only person who has to live with the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis. You're the only person who knows if something feels right or not. Just some kind of like final thoughts. I know it's kind of a jumbled mess, but I'm hoping there's something out of here that's helpful. I didn't have a secure childhood. Parents or people around me who I could look at and be like, wow, they're modeling like healthy relationships or modeling the kind of partner that I would want in my future. There are times when I feel sad about the situation that I was in, wishing that I had, like, why can't I be normal? And I just wanted to reiterate to just be kind to yourself. If you're kind of someone like me, who doesn't come from a secure family background, like you're starting from scratch. You're starting and you're building something without a foundation. You're having to build your own foundation first and then building, So it is going to take a little bit more time, and that's okay. At any point in your life, getting an opportunity to kind of challenge the stuff that you were raised with, whether it serves you or not, I think that is a really, really good and defining moment in someone's life. Like, I look back at it and I'm really glad for everything that had happened, because I wouldn't be who I am today, without all the stuff that had happened to me. I wouldn't be in this moment today and be with the people who I'm with now if it wasn't for everything. So, all the twists and turns, I can't be mad about it. Well, I could be. I can be grateful for it, knowing that every rejection is redirection. I love that quote. Or when one chapter ends, the next one begins. So just constantly reminding yourself that this is not the end of your life or the end of all of the good times in your life. There are really beautiful, wonderful moments ahead in your life, and just you have to remind yourself that there are brighter days ahead. You have not had all of your best moments yet, and there's so many good ones that are to come. One of the best pieces of advice that I got while I was going through my whole separation divorce, to just focus on the little rays of light that you can find every single day. And that helped me so much. Like, even today, I'm still like that. There is something that you can be grateful for every single day. A teeny tiny bit of ray of light, even teeny tiny little speckle, a little sparkle, you can find it. And I think as long as you keep training your mind to look for that, I know it's really hard right now. And I think I'm getting like emotional because I remember what it was like. And like, if I could go back and tell her everything's going to be okay, I promise you everything is going to be okay. And you may not feel it today, but one day down the road, you're going to look back and you're going to be really grateful for things falling apart, because it allowed you to start over and to make different decisions and to take control of your life in a way that you didn't have before. So I know it hurts, but there is a blessing in the breaking. Last but not least, one thing that I did while I was going through it, and I think might be helpful for you, so I wanted to share, I wrote a list. What I want and want to give. And I listed down the stuff that was like super important for me in my future person. If I can describe my husband as a good man, I'm gonna be a happy girl. And my husband is a very good man. Anyways, but I wrote down characteristics that I wanted out of my future partner. Non-negotiables. Now, when you're putting your list together, I want you to think about those intangible qualities, okay? What is that trending sound? I want a man in finance, 6'4", whatever, trust fund, whatever. No, honey, we're not going there, okay? Intangible assets, honey, intangible. You can't touch them. Some stuff for me, someone who I would be proud to be the father of my children. Someone with integrity, a moral code, and ethical, someone to communicate healthy with, someone whose actions match or exceed their words, someone who won't give up, someone I feel safe and protected with, someone who opens doors for me, a gentleman, someone who walks with me, someone who I can soak in moments with, not always in a rush, someone who respects my boundaries and will work to meet my needs. I want you to write that down. Ask yourself, like, really transparently, these are the things I want out of someone. Can I be that? If the answer is no, then you know that there's growth within yourself to work to be someone who you would want to be with. Truly believe that if you do that, one, your standard is going to be set. And so whenever we talk in the next episode about dating, you're going to have this standard that you can measure people against, right? And then secondly, I think that what you put out, the energy you put out, is the kind of energy that hopefully you will later attract. That's that, honey. I really hope you will see this period of your life as kind of a blessing. It is a time for you to just learn about yourself and to really only focus on yourself. Obviously, if you have children, that's very important too. But also just to focus on yourself and your children. For me, I had my fur baby, Juicy. She was a senior dog, so my decisions that I made were for me and for her. A really beautiful season. And I know that especially if you're someone who wants a family, who wants a partner like I did and now have, it's gonna suck. Like it sucks to not have that person. But I promise you that it's better to be on your own than to be with someone who makes you feel alone. Getting comfortable with being by yourself. Because trust me, y'all, when we start talking about the dating part, the universe is going to test you, honey. They're going to test your resolve. That's why we need to take this opportunity to really, hone in on what we need and want and to become very strong and firm in that because, honey, it's going to get tested. Those are my thoughts on the healing journey. I know this was long, but I really hope that this was helpful. I hope that you got something out of it. Like I said before, there are brighter days ahead. I promise you that. So I will see y'all in the next episode. I did want to leave you guys though, because I wrote stuff while I was going through it right before I moved out and got my own little cottage, which was the first time I had moved out or had lived on my own. And I did all of that without telling my family. I still cried a little today, but I know it's part of the process. I'm trying to be kind to myself. Over the past month, I was getting worried about living alone and watching out for myself, but I realized to a large degree I already have been alone, just with him as a person who I'd update about my whereabouts. I realize I can and will be fine on my own, and even more so because I won't have the weight of our relationship hovering over me. I'm looking forward to being myself authentically, and I won't settle to be around anyone who can't accept me for me, good and bad. This one was interesting, that vlog that I had there. Hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight on what was going on. In between, I got a job offer and I was putting my notice in for my job, and that's why I was so emotional in that vlog. I said I put my notice in for work and started telling people. Most have said kind well wishes. Some have thanked me for my kindness or said I'm a good professional but an even better person or that I'm valuable. I'm sad because as a professional, I accept and agree, but as a person, I don't believe myself. I don't see myself like how they see me. I wish I did. Pray a year from now, I can look back and be proud of myself, how I handle this. But if not, I hope I can be proud of the person I see in the mirror. Hey, come on. During my healing journey, I would have some conversations with the universe, with higher powers, with God. I would have conversations with him and just be frustrated at times with where I was at, just kind of the timing of life. I was like, where is he? I think he was just like, okay girl, you ready now? So he plopped down and gave me 4. My husband, my 2 bonus boys, and Brutus. He said, you asked for a man, here they are, honey. Here they are. Right, Bubs? He done said, here they are. Yeah, and now I'm surrounded by really loving, sweet, kind, protective men. It's just kind of funny when you look back at it. So y'all, have some conversations with him. He's listening. He might give you more than you asked for. Huh? He listening. He just looks like an oversized Jojo. Oh, no, so handsome and sweet. You don't let them see you? You don't like to be on camera? Okay. What? Who's my smooches? Who's my smooches? Who's my smooch? Yeah. All right, y'all. That's it for today. I'll talk to y'all later.